Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about my life and actually why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I became a pastor and why I'm where I am today, and just discuss this with you guys so that you can at least know where I'm coming from and why I'm doing this, and that I'm not just doing this to be on YouTube or be an influencer on YouTube or anything like that, and that there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I just want to discuss this with you today. My life was actually so bad or rough or whatever you can say that I've written a book about my life. And when the book was done, I had a publisher, someone that said that they would help me to publish the book and that I don't have to stress about it. And I feel this person was just after money. She made me pay money at the beginning for registration and for ISBN, and then people actually bought the book that she printed, and when I realized it was a mistake and that there was mistakes in the book and spelling mistakes and space mistakes and things like that, I had to cancel and say no, I can't give this book to people. And then she tried it over again and make some more mistakes, and then I had to pay for another ISBN because it's a new year and all kinds of things like that. And at the end of the day, I just said, no, you know what, this is a Christian book and it's a book about God, but I'm not just going to put it on the market to say I'm a publisher. That's not me. I don't want to do that. So I said, let's rather leave it. If God wants the book on the market, He will send me someone else on my way that can help me with this book. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. And she just said then she's keeping the money that I paid. She even kept the money that the people paid for the books and whatever, because she's worked on the book and all kinds of things like that. But they just kept on sending it back like a mess. So I just decided, let's just leave it. So for now, the book will not come out, or I don't know, maybe on a later stage it will. We'll see how it goes. We'll wait and see in the future. So let's start at the beginning, where everything began, and that was when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Me and my brother was molested, and it was bad. It was really bad, but we never told anybody about this. Not my mom or nobody. We just kept it to ourselves, and that made me actually as a child being scared of men. So I didn't want to be around men. And as my life went on, I started thinking maybe it was just a dream. Maybe I dreamt about it. Maybe it didn't really happen or whatever, because I couldn't understand why this person would do something like this. Why would he go and do something like that? It hurt us so bad because it was bad. I don't want to go into it now, but it was painful and it was bad. So later on in my life, I thought that maybe it was a dream or something like that, because why doesn't my brother speak about this? And when I was in school, I was a very good rugby player. I played for the under 14 A's, under 15 A's, and first team. But I didn't really want to play rugby. I didn't really want to be between men, but I also liked the attention that I got. So, I was very good. I should have become a Springbok maybe. I was a fly-half, and I was one of the best. And sometimes when I felt I didn't want to go to rugby, I said to my mom, I must do homework. And those days I just wanted to stay home. I just didn't want to be between men and things like that. And my mom always forced me to go back. She called the teacher and said, come and fetch me at home and take him to the rugby and whatever. I was forced to play rugby because my mom knew how good I was and the teacher knew how good I was, and they wanted me to play. But they didn't know about the other things that was going on in my life. They didn't know that the days that I didn't want to play, that I didn't want to be between men and things like that. So it was very difficult because my mom wanted me to play. I wanted to play, and then on the days when I was scared, I wanted to stay away, but I couldn't stay away because they needed me to play, and it was bad. So I just went on with my life and tried to work through it. And I will speak to people who goes through the same thing maybe at this stage or at somewhere else, and say what I think about this on a later stage. And when we were about 13 years old, my mom decided to send me and my brother on a church camp. Now, we were very naughty boys. We knew how to be naughty. And we didn't want to go on this church camp. And we promised my mom, if she sends us to this thing, hey, we're going to throw her name away. We will make sure she will send us never on a thing like this again. We will break everything wherever we go. We will just be very naughty. So we went on this church camp, and they asked that night who wants to go out and meet God, who wants to be prayed for, to give their heart to God. And lots of people went forward, and it was like in a big tabernacle where we were, and lots of people went forward, and they wanted to get prayed for and things like that. So me and my brother decided, let's also go there. We don't want to be the only ones standing by the seats and whatever, so we also went to the front. And there the people came and prayed for us, and while the guy was praying for me, he stopped and he told me that the Holy Spirit told him that I must become a pastor. So I was just thinking to myself, I'm 13 years old, what do I know about being a pastor? I'm still a child, so I'm not going to worry about something like that. No, I will just leave it and go on with my life. But there, the Holy Spirit came over me and my brother, and it changed us completely. When we went home, we were like two different children, and we went on with our lives differently. We went to church. We were really like two little holy boys, and things just went well. We prayed for sick people. We went out to hospitals and prayed for the sick there, and made music in the middle of the town, and it was very nice. And then one of my friends that was with me in church died because he was struck by lightning, and he died. And when that happened, I just fell back. So I didn't go to church anymore. I really felt sad about my friend that wasn't there. He was always the one that came back and picked me up and said, come, let's go to church, and things like that. And he was always there for me, and he kept me on the straight and narrow. And when he died, I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I just fell back. And as my life went on, when I were in matric, I had a heart attack in matric, and I was in and out of hospitals for a few months. And when everything was like over, my mom went to the school and asked me when I asked the school if I can go back, and the school said no, they don't want me there, because if I get a heart attack, then the school will be disrupted and things like that. So they said no, I can't be there. So they kept me out of school. They wanted the doctor to write a letter to say that I'm healthy and that I can go back to school, and the doctor didn't want to write a letter like that, because if he says I'm healthy and I get another heart attack, my mom will probably sue him and all kinds of things. So they didn't want to write a letter. And half a year basically passed before the doctor said, no, everything looks good, he will write a letter for me to go back to school. So they didn't want me to go back because I missed half the year and all these kinds of things. So I had to go out of school. So I didn't have matric, and then I went to the army. I went to the army for 2 years, and I worked in the army, and after army I started working. And then I met my first wife, and we made a baby together. So when she was born, she was actually born without lungs. She was born very sick, premature, and things like that, and she was supposed to die on the first night that she was born. But we prayed, and we got people to pray for us, and the pastors came and they prayed for us, and that was the worst night of my life. I really thought that my daughter was going to die. Um, the doctor told us that there's really no way that he can see her stay alive, and there was lots of things happening there, money that we had to pay for her to be in hospital because we didn't have a medical aid. Only my wife was on a medical aid, and the child wasn't on a medical aid, and they didn't want to put her in the machines and stuff. And after lots of ups and downs and lefts and rights, they decided to help us, and so we went on the machine, and the next day they decided to transfer them to a government hospital. So this is also another story that I will tell you of how God was there, how we saw God working in the back of the ambulance, and how she was healed. But I will tell you that story when we get to miracles one day, when I speak to you guys. So then I went to church again, and I started going to church, and one day I've asked again who wants to give their life to God, and I stood up and I said, yes, let me do this again. So I stood up again in front of church, and I went to church, and then another guy prayed for me, and at the end of the day, he told me that I must become a pastor. So this is the second time that I was called now. And again, I thought to myself, now I was working, I have a child, I have a wife, so how can I become a pastor now? I can't just leave everything and then become a pastor and go and work for God. I mean, I must study for like 3 years to become a pastor, and it's not just that you jump in and now you're a pastor or whatever. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And in any case, if I must do this, and some woman come and cry by me, her husband is beating her and whatever, I'm not going to pray to him for him. I'm going to probably beat him or teach him some lessons or something. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I will not be able to speak to people. What will I say to people? How will I say it? And I didn't want to do this. So I said, maybe later in my life or something like that. But I just wasn't ready to do something like that. So again, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. So then after the miracle that we saw with our daughter, me and my ex-wife now still got divorced. So we still had the divorce. Even after we saw that big miracle in our lives, things just didn't work out. And it was sad, and lots of things that happened. And in my book, whenever my book comes out, people can read about what happened there, why we got divorced, and everything is there. So I went on with my life, and then I met another woman, my new wife, the one that I'm married to now. And I could really feel that this was the one. I just, from the beginning, I just knew it. This was the woman that I must marry and that I will be the rest of my life with. And things didn't go too bad. Just after I met her, I started working for Sasol. Now Sasol is one of the biggest companies in South Africa. They're making fuel and oil and lots of things, and you can't work for that company without matric. And at the end of the day, I worked for them without matric. I got a job with them. I was a mechanical fitter, and I've worked for them, and everything just went well. So me and my wife got married. We had another daughter, and everything just started looking bright for us because I've got this nice job at Sasol, and I thought, now I'm on the right way. But then I got kidney stones, and that was bad. They say kidney stones is like a woman giving birth. It's bad. It was so painful. I couldn't walk. I was crawling in the house from my room to the living area, from my room to the living area. I didn't know where I want to lie or where I want to die because it was really, really bad. That pain you can't describe to anyone. So I went to the hospital, and they had to take the stones out, and I had to put stents in, and then when I went back to take the stents out, there was more stones. I had to remove the stones, put the stents back. When the stents came out, my bladder pipes went closed, so I had to cut that open with lasers, and it was just bad and so painful. And I thought, I can't believe that someone must have so much pain. But luckily I made it through that, and we went on with our lives, and then I made a mistake of my life and I cheated on my wife. And I just couldn't live with that. Just after I've done it, I just knew I've messed up, and I felt so guilty, and I felt so bad. And I told the lady that I did it with that I'm going to tell my wife what happened, and so that I can either go on with my life or have a divorce or whatever, but I just couldn't live with it like that. And I told my wife what happened, also a story that I could maybe share with you some other time what happened there. I actually wanted to tell my wife myself, and then that lady sent the SMS to my wife before I even could get to her or could speak to her, whatever. She tried to buzz me, and it was just a mess. But I've told my wife everything that happened, and we worked through that. And I'll tell you the story one day when we maybe will talk about marriage and divorce and stuff like that. Then I'll go more into the stories. So we went through that, and luckily we made it. We didn't get a divorce, and we went on with our lives, and we thought that everything would just be okay for the rest of our lives. We had our plan, we had a medical aid, we had a pension, we had everything. So we were planned to just work for Sassel and retire one day and have money and everything, and then I became sick. So I fell sick, and nobody knew what was going on. Everybody tried to find an answer, because when I went to the toilet, there was just blood coming out. I vomited blood sometimes it came out in the bottom, and it was lots of blood, and I had stomach pains. I couldn't even walk, and I had to go for injections and pain medication, and I used all these strong pain medicine, and nobody knew what was coming on. And the people at my work, I feel they thought that I was lying, that I'm just saying I'm sick just not to be at work, and that wasn't the case, because I was really in pain. And you know, when people joke about something, like when they say, I'm only kidding, there's always some kind of truth behind I'm only kidding. You know, if they say, oh yeah, you're almost staying at home because you don't want to work, and then they say, no, I'm just kidding, there's always some kind of truth behind that. So it's not that you can say they are only joking. It can be that they think that that you are lying, that you're not speaking the truth. And it was painful. It wasn't nice to know that the people think you are lying, but you are really so sick, you know. And the doctor started doing this test, and I went for lots of colonoscopies and gastroscopies, and they did laparoscopic surgery where they just put the cameras in and operate or go in with cameras to try and see what's going on, and they just couldn't find it. It was just something was wrong, but they didn't know what. Then one of the doctors decided to turn my small intestine around because of all the running stomach. I had a running stomach every day, 10, 20 times. It was really bad. It was like water coming out. If it's not blood, it's water. It was bad. So they tried to turn my small intestine around. That didn't work. I was also very sick there, and I'll also go into this more when we maybe talk about sickness and getting healed and things like that. So it didn't work, and they had to turn it back, and it was just a mess. And then the company doctors decided that they can't let me work there anymore, so they've put me off, medically unfit to work. And I was begging. I said to the doctors, listen, yeah, I've got a wife, I've got kids, I can't sit without a job, and I mean, I'm sick. Where will I get a job when I'm sick like this? But they just don't want to do it. They said no, they must look after me, and they must look after the company, and I'm too sick. So they couldn't let me work there anymore. But I was still there for a few days, and then I got a hernia on the wound where they tried to turn the small intestine around. And when that happened, I just knew, nah, it's finished now, it's over. They were going to put me off. So they've put me off, and I was off in November. They put me off, and in February the next year, I started working for another company again. At the same plant, but just for a construction company. So I was working for them for a whole year, and I was like, okay, I could live with it. I started to learn to live with the pain and with the blood and all these things, because nobody could do anything for me. And I was working for them, and the next year, actually, I got a blockage in my intestines. There where they've done the operations, there was the intestine narrowed. So I had a blockage there. And then the doctor had to go in to take that blockage out. But my doctor wasn't available, the one that was usually working on me. So it was a doctor that was standing in for my doctor. And when he cut me open to get to my intestines, he didn't know that my intestine grew onto the inside of my skin. So he cut my intestine in half, and he couldn't join it. So he just closed everything up and whatever, and he left me like that until the next day to see what's going to happen, or if my doctor comes back, if he knows what to do, because he didn't know what to do. He just couldn't join it. When he joins it, he just tears loose again. And I became very sick after that. When my doctor came there, he tried to join it, he couldn't join it. So I was in hospital for a very long time. I think I was there like for 3 months, in and out of ICU and in and out of theater, because every time I tried to get up, everything tears loose again. I was like 88 or 90 kilograms, and after this thing I fell to 54 kilograms, and I thought it was time for me to go, because I couldn't eat. They gave me feeding through the vein with a needle. It was here in my neck. They've put it in there, and I just couldn't eat like for 3 months. I was just lying there and being sick. So then one night the nurse came in, and she asked me if we can pray. And I said to her, yes, you're more than welcome to come and pray for me. So me and her prayed there, and she was crying, and when I was just lying there, I could just feel that it's my fault that I was lying there, because I didn't listen to what God was saying. I didn't do what he was saying. You know, when Moses didn't want to go and take the Israelis out of Egypt, God did things with him to make him do it. When Jonah didn't want to go and bring the message to Nineveh, God did things with him to make him do it. And I just felt like now it's my turn. God's going to make me do whatever he wanted me to do. So I prayed and I said to him, okay, if he saves me and he takes me out of this hospital, then I will study and become a pastor. And me and her prayed, and while she was praying, I prayed, and I said to God, I made my promise to him. And when she left, it just felt like different. I could just feel I'm already feeling different. I don't know if it was because of the promise, I don't know if it was because God was there, but I just felt like calm and different. And I started healing. Slowly but surely I started healing. They didn't join the intestines, they couldn't join it, they just left it like it is, and they just put it together and put one clip in, and they left it like that, and that thing healed himself at the end of the day. It was like 2 weeks after that or 3 weeks after that I went home. And at home I just had to get healthy. I just had to heal, but I was still very weak and I was still in pain, but it was better. So the doctors decided to install a morphine pump into my stomach that has pipes that's going into my back. So it's like an epidural or something like that they give you just to control the pain in your body to make it a bit better. So they've put that thing in, and from there my pain was much better. I didn't go for injections anymore. I didn't drink pain medication anymore. But I was still weak after all the operations, and one night when we were lying there, I could hear people shooting each other down the street by us. And I couldn't walk. I was just lying there because I was still in pain after the operations and things like that. And I can't explain to you how scared I was. I was so scared, and And I was just thinking to myself, what if I die today? Am I really ready to die? Will I really go to heaven if I must die today? Am I really on the right path? Just to go to church and just to pray every now and then doesn't say that you're ready to go to heaven. And we'll also go into this some more on a later stage. And I was just scared, and I just prayed to God, and I just asked Him to heal me and to just keep me alive, and so I can just carry on with my life. And because of all of this that happened, we lost everything. We lost our houses, we lost our cars, we lost our furniture. We had to sell everything. We actually went and lived with my brother because we just couldn't afford any houses or any cars or anything anymore. So we had to sell everything just to keep me alive for all these operations, to pay for the medical aid and to pay medical bills and whatever. And we sold all our things. So we went and stayed with my brother. And then one night my brother's head left him or something. I don't know why, but then he just started beating me because of warm water. We were in a fight, and then he actually jumped off his bed and started punching me in the face, and I had to cover my head, and I had to cover my pump, because if this pump breaks and the medicine goes into your system, you'll die of an overdose. So I had to cover the pump and cover the face, and his dogs were biting me, and it was bad. So my wife said, no, let's just move. We're not going to sit with things like this and whatever. And I don't know why he did it. He says his head is not right, but yeah, okay, at the end of the day, we moved, and we should have moved to my wife's sister, because things were still going rough, and then I couldn't work, and my wife wasn't working, and we only had the pension from the company where I worked. That was only like $4,000, and so we had nothing. So the last bit of stuff that we had, we sold that, and we bought a caravan, and me and my wife and my kids went and stayed in that caravan in a black lady's yard. That's the only person that wanted to help us at that stage. She said she's got a big yard and we can park the caravan there and live for some time in the caravan. So we stayed in that caravan, and we had nothing left. We had no money, no food, no clothes, we basically had nothing. We were right at the bottom, and we didn't know what we were going to do, because I'm sick. My wife didn't work in her life because I was looking after her always, and she doesn't have any experiences, and she wasn't like qualified into something, and it was bad. So, but we stayed there, and then we made it. We prayed every night, and we had a plate of food to eat every night, some food, and the kids had food for school, and our kids went on with school, and somehow we made it. I know it's another miracle, because I can't even explain where we got the money from to buy food every now and then. I know my youngest brother always paid in some money for us and whatever, but that wasn't enough to buy everything that we ate every night. So it's just unbelievable how God looks after you if you believe in Him. I just always believed that God doesn't just do things. He doesn't just punish you and leave you or whatever. If He gives you a punishment, He will also give you something to get you out of that punishment. You must just keep on believing, and that's what I've done all my life. Even though I was molested, I always believed that God will protect me, and even though I was sick and I couldn't get work because I didn't have matric, I got the job at the end of the day. I just kept on believing, and I believed that God would have taken us through the caravan as well. And we lived in a caravan, and then after 2 years in the caravan, I talked to the lady of the house, because she had a big lapa that was standing open there, a big room, and we talked, and she decided that we can move in there, because the caravan was leaking water and the wind was blowing and the tents were a mess. And so she said we can move into the lapa. So I bought some wood. We sold the caravan. We took that money. We bought some wood, and we turned that place into like a 3-bedroom place for the kids, and the 2 kids and my wife and I. And we had a little kitchen, and it was nice. We made it really nice, and we bought ourselves beds, because the caravan had its own like beds, type of beds. And So we had to buy some beds with that money, and when we moved in there, it was a bit better. Now we at least had something like a type of house again. And then we lived there, and my wife got a job, and it wasn't bad. She got a nice salary. Everything was so good. And then the person that she was working for wanted to sleep with her. And my wife isn't like that. She will never do something like that. She know how she felt when I was doing that to her, and not just because of that. I've got a good wife. I've got an amazing wife. I mean, my wife stood by me through everything, through sickness, through health, through cheating, through everything. My wife was always there for me, and she wouldn't do something like that. And the guy just started treating her badly because she didn't want to give him what he wanted, and she just kept on working, and everything was okay. We started living again, and then a lady make a U-turn in front of my wife on a white line, on a bridge, on a turn. My wife didn't see her, just came from nowhere, made a U-turn in front of my wife, and my wife got in a car accident. And the small little car that we bought when my wife started working just was a mess. It was bended in front, and there we were without a car again. We just bought a car, and we thought, okay, everything is better now. We've got a car again. We've got a place to stay. And then that happened. Again, we were at the bottom. We didn't know what to do. My wife broke her hand. She damaged her leg, and she was off work for a month. And then when she had to go back, she asked them if they can just help her to get to work until we can sort the car out. And that guy just said, no, if she can't get to work, she must resign, because he's not going to struggle with her and whatever. And we know he did that just because he didn't want to sleep with him. If she promised to sleep with him, you would have made a plan, because they did make plans for her before when we had little problems here and there. And he just didn't want to do it. So she had to leave. So again, she was sitting without a job. And luckily, just before she left, she gave my CV in at another company there where she was working. And then when she gave my CV in, they called me, and I started working. I actually started working just 3 days before she got in the accident. And there she was at home again, and it was just bad. And I started working, and now I had to stay at home again for a few days to look after my wife, because she can't walk, she can't do anything with her hand, and it just always feels like there's always something that happens. You just can't explain it, but there's always this something that wants to pull you down. It's like the devil just doesn't want to leave us. He doesn't want us to be on our feet. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I just believe that I will not allow the devil to win. I will not give him that satisfaction. He can throw at me whatever he wants to. I know God will pick us up at the other side again. So I started working. I was off. When I went back, they asked how's my wife. I said to them, and then I started working. My wife was at home. She looked after the kitchen. Actually, at the end of the day, it was just like it was before. I'm looking at after my wife, and I'm working and what. And then they transferred me from one plant to another. And when I came to the other plant, the first day when I got to the new plant, I was sick. Like very sick. I didn't even know where I was or what was going on, and I thought, okay, I'm losing my job again. This is going to cause me to lose my job, because these people doesn't know me, and I was actually only working like a month at the other place before they transferred me, so nobody really knew me. Even the place where I was working before they transferred me didn't know me, because I was just there a month. So I thought, I'm losing my job again. And I prayed very hard, and I said to God, please, just don't let me sit at home again. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I want to work. I want to look after my family. But I really thought that, I mean, people today, they don't really want to give you chances. So I really thought that I was going to get fired. But it didn't stop me. I just prayed, and I said, all right, God, please, help me to get through this, help me to keep my job and what. So I phoned the people, and I begged them. I said, please, just don't fire me. And that guy said, don't worry, man, you're not going to get fired. He said they looked at my file. They saw that I'm actually disabled. I was registered as a disabled when I was put off from my company. And they saw that I was disabled and that I was restricted in lifting things and whatever, and they decided not to send me to the plant anymore. They would rather keep me there at the shops, and I will fix the shops for them and fix toilets and paint things and do these small kinds of things. They're not going to work me in the plant. It's a very hard job with spanners and all these kinds of things. And I was so glad, and when I got back and I started working, and I just worked by myself. I didn't have a foreman looking after me every day and saying, what do you do, and this and that, and it just went well. But it's just a temporary job, it's not a permanent job, so they can still put me off at any day. And luckily so far I'm working here for a year now, and I wasn't put off yet. And while the other people that's working in the plant went off for like 3 or 4 months, I was here through that 4 months and whatever. And again, it shows you, I just kept on believing, and I've talked to the people. And again, I was supposed to sit at home for 4 months with the other people, but God made me sick for 3 days so that I can't get fired for a few months later or get put off for 4 months a few months later. So it just shows you, when God puts something in your way, or when the devil puts something in your way, or if God allows the devil to put it in your way, don't think God's just punishing you. He put me through all these things, and if you look back at it, you can see He put me through this for this, He put me through that for that. He made me sick, my last one, just so that they can move me, so that they don't put me off with the rest of the guys a few months later. And that's what we must start doing. We must start believing in God. We must stop always looking for excuses or blaming God and fighting with God and things like that. We must just believe that God is doing something to you, because He's got a bigger plan for you along the way later on in your life. Doesn't matter which way you are going or what you decide at the end of the day. So please, I want to ask you guys, and I see lots of people are just leaving this channel, they subscribe and then they just go away. And I just want to say, maybe somewhere in this channel you've heard now what I went through, and you've heard what we're going to discuss on this channel later on. And we're going to talk about all these things that happens in life and what God do for us and what He can do for us. And please share it with your friends. Maybe someone needs to hear what I'm saying here. I mean, maybe someone went through the same thing that I did with the molestation, or maybe they were raped or something like that, or sitting without work, or became sick, or all these things that happened to me. Maybe God put me through all of that so that I can help someone else along the way. So please subscribe to the channel and stay on the channel, and go look my video at all my videos. I see one of them has got 1,000 views, other one has just got 15 views. So if everybody can just look at all my videos and share my channel, then I can reach more people and help people so that they don't go through the same thing that what I went through, like being scared of men. I shouldn't have been scared to all the men. All the men are not the same. They wouldn't have done all the same things. So, but I didn't have to help, and I only realized that this thing was a reality when my mom and my brother actually fought when I was 46 years old. When my mom and my brother fought, and my brother told her that she was a bad mom because this happened to us and she never did anything about it. So that's why I know now it wasn't a dream, it was real. It did happen and whatever. And so I just want to help other people that's going through the same thing so that they don't suffer like what I have done. And maybe you will not know about it. Maybe they didn't say anything about this, and maybe the only reason why they will open up is maybe to me if somebody shares my channel and tell people about this channel and things like that. So I would really like to ask you to please subscribe, like, comment, and share it with all your friends so that this channel can grow and so that I can reach more people at the end of the day. I hope you guys have a wonderful week full of miracles. God bless you. Goodbye.